On this week's show, we look back on yet another missed opportunity against Montpellier. We pay tribute to Ollie Griffiths on his retirement, and we preview what is now a do-or-die clash for the Dragons up at Newcastle. All that and more on the Dragons Lair. Hello, and welcome to the Dragons Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. Gav, how are we?
I'm very well, Jamie, very well. Decided against playing rugby this weekend, fortunately, as I think my knee and the weather would have possibly led to my untimely demise.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no chance of any rugby going ahead, and you don't have to do Gwent Rugby Roundup this week. So that's something, isn't it? You don't have to troll through all the results because there was no rugby.
No,
Well, no community rugby anyway.
no.
Unfortunately, our game did go ahead, which we'll talk about later. Making his second appearance of the season on our pod is Gareth LeClare. Gav, how are we?
Hey Jamie, how are you going? Yeah, good to be on. Cheers for inviting me back. After we've had some esteemed guests, to be fair. So the listeners will be a bit disappointed that they listened to me again. But yeah, chuffed to be on, lads.
No, at all. We're delighted to have you on. It's nice to have another voice, fresh ideas, fresh opinions, fresh moaning. It's really good to get you on our pod. First of all, before we start, I would like to thank everyone who sent us messages regarding the John Evans pod. We have had a really big reaction to this, Gav. A lot of people got in touch. They really enjoyed the John Evans pod. It went down well with a lot of people. Great feedback. We had a review on Apple Podcasts from WXM who said, one of the best podcasts I have listened to with a recent pro player. He was open and transparent. It gave a really good insight into the Welsh game. Always rated John as a great scrum half and is exactly the type of player the regions are missing now. I'd quite like to see John Evans back in the Dragon shirt quite right now. I don't know about you boys. He still believes he could do a job.
Yeah, how have someone like Johnny Evans, who's won the league with the Scarlets, and like you said, played a lot of rugby that year, played at Bath, to then not pick up a professional contract when, no disrespect to some of the players we've had, but would he have offered more than a Lewis Jones? I mean, over the last few years, would he offer more now than maybe a Dane Backer? I don't know. He was a really good player. I really rated him. I was gutted to see him leave. So, but yeah, it was a great listen.
He's the best scrum half in the SCR by quite some way.
Yeah.
And he was quite humble about it. He's like, yeah, it's too easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. I don't find it hard. It's easy. I love that. I love this confidence. He's such a great guy. I really enjoyed it. And he listens to the pod. I know he's listened to this now. Thank you, John. I sent you some of the messages of feedback. He's delighted. We are listened to in Ebervale, Gav. There are people listening to us at Ebervale RFC, just so you know.
Yeah, I expect a red carpet next time I'm upstairs.
Hospitality, please.
Dragon's Lair pod. Lead me to the fancy seats. There are no fancy seats.
I was going to say, what fancy seats in Eugene Cross Park?
No, there are no fancy seats. I always stood, and always when I do go back, I always stand on the terrace anyway.
But yeah, great feedback, I said. And the Phil Steele pod went down well with a lot of people as well. We've been getting fantastic feedback and comments, so we really appreciate that. And just a reminder that we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Rap YouTube channel. And if you can, please leave us a review because it really does help grow the pod. Okay, and boys, before we get into what happened on Friday, let's get into some news. Some big news, some sad news, actually. Ollie Griffiths has announced his retirement from rugby on medical grounds with immediate effect. So Griffiths made 105 appearances for the Dragons, and he did win a cap for Wales against Tonga in Auckland in June 2017. He did also represent Wales in an uncapped match against the Barbarians in November 2019. His final appearance for the club came against the Sharks back in January 2024, and sadly now he will hang up his boots due to medical reasons. Our chairman, David Wright, he said, Ollie is a one-club man who epitomises what it is to be a Dragon, and we are therefore delighted that he is to be awarded a testimonial year with us in 2025. Rightly so. Ollie will always be a Dragon. He will always be a huge part of our club, and we wish him and his family the very best as they start the next chapter of their lives together. So yeah, nice words there from our chairman. Gareth, Ollie retiring. on the one hand, you could say it was to be expected with his health issues and injury problems, but it doesn't make it any less sad, does it?
No,
It's quite sad,
really
isn't it?
sad. I mean, I guess the rugby is second to your health, and definitely wish Ollie all the best. That's the most important thing with his recovery. But yeah, what a player. I think take the chance to just say thank you to Ollie for his services over the years. Every time his name was on the team sheet, I always felt we had a chance. I remember there was a game, I can't remember what season it was. We had Edinburgh at home and we scraped to win. And he was a one-man army. He was doing everything. I'm surprised he didn't take the goal kicking. He was playing that well. He just seemed to have that Midas touch. But yeah, really sad news. But just wish him all the best moving forward.
Yeah,
I always
absolutely.
liked him as a back row because he was like a balanced back row in one man. He could do the horrible six stuff, the boss round the fringes. He was a great tackler, but was also a great carrier of the ball as well. He was kind of at his best. He was exceptional, but injury dogged through his career, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's the most unluckiest man in Wales with regards to injuries. He really was. And I firmly believe if he did stay fit, he would have won quite a high number of Wales caps. He would have been up there with Tippett and Warburton. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
When he was fit, he was outstanding. Gareth, you were right. When he played for the Dragons, when he was fit, he made us a better team. He was single-handedly like keeping us in games, wasn't he? And winning us games as well with his turnovers, his ball carrying. Fantastic athlete. He's going to be missed. He's going to be very hard to replace. But yeah, we wish Ollie all the very best. And I'm glad the club are giving him a testimonial because it's what he deserves. But yeah, all the best to him. And then in other news, this is news I did not have on my 2024 bingo card. Shane Lewis-Hughes had surgery last Friday to amputate a finger on his right hand. Lewis-Hughes elected to go under the knife to help overcome a long-standing finger issue. So the 27-year-old had his ring finger on his right hand amputated to just above the base knuckle following several years of having to manage severe issues with his hand. So he was told that if he didn't get this done, he'd have to retire from rugby. But also if he left it, he would have quite possibly lost his hand and lost his arm. That's how serious it was. I don't know about you, boys. I was shocked when I saw the video. I was really, really shocked. What did you make of that?
Well, it's happened before. I can't think who it was. It was a New Zealand player in the 70s who had to have his finger removed to go on a tour against South Africa for the same reasons. And it does happen. Now, I nowhere near the same kind of thing, but I can badly dislocated a finger. And if you don't get it set it properly, it can affect the entire mobility for your hand and it can cause nerve damage because nerves will get pulled into it and stuff. And, it can be quite serious and what feels like quite an innocuous injury. It's you don't expect it to happen in professional sport now, but
I was double taking when I first seen that pop up on my social media feed.
Yeah.
And then not being a medical expert, quickly having a panic thinking, how long is he going to be out for? And then quickly realizing 3 to 4 weeks isn't too scary, but he's been top class as well, to be fair. I think we might touch on recruitment in a bit.
Yes, we will. We've had a few questions and comments, as you know, Gav, about the recruitment.
But whilst we're on him, I mean, Shane Lewis-Hughes for me has just been absolute top draw. And if he's playing at the moment with a bad hand, I can't wait to see him, albeit with 9 fingers, but fit and firing. He's top class. For me, he's epitomised what our pack's been about this season. We have been quite dogged and quite gnarly.
Yeah,
just haven't had the rest of the game to back it up.
He particularly for me has stood out.
Yeah.
And Tane stands out clearly because he's doing all the exciting stuff, the explosive running from the base of rucks and stuff. But Shane Lewis-Hughes has done all the stuff that nobody else wants to do. The horrible, just slowing the opposition ball down and everything.
Yeah, as a balance, having those two in the back row.
Oh yeah.
Let's get Wayno up to 100% match sharpness. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's a well-balanced back row.
Yeah, really, really big fan of our back row.
Which we struggled with.
Big back row. It's just
yeah. I think we struggled with balance a bit though last season.
Yeah,
and because
well, even this season, I think we've had a couple of games where we've picked 3 6s in Woodman, Lydia, and Shane Lewis-Hughes, which is criminal, really, at a pro level.
But we've also picked 3 7s as well. in games as well, which kind of brings its own challenges too.
Yeah. The good news is it's only a month that he's going to be out for. The bad news is, of course, that he's going to miss key fixtures. He's going to miss the derbies. We really need him against Cardiff Scards. He's going to miss the European games, as we know. So the timing of it is quite bad, actually, but at least it is only a month. He did use the example. There's a player in the NRL that he mentioned, and he spoke to him for advice. But I can't remember his name. Sorry, I don't follow rugby league at all. But he sought advice, and
it happens in NFL sometimes as well. So I used to play against a guy who had one arm, and he was still a better player than me. No, genuinely. There's a guy who used to play for Brighton who had one arm, and he played 7. And he was, but he'd
how
get
does
over
that
it,
work? How does that work at the breakdown? And I don't.
He would do it one-handed.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he would pass like he had his arm was amputated to just below his elbow, and he would pass off like the kind of what remained of his arm on his full hand. It was remarkable to watch.
Is he still playing?
No, he's retired.
I was going to say there's one for the Dragons to keep an eye on.
I've not played. Well, to be fair, he might still be. I don't know. I've not played against Brighton for a couple of years.
That's nuts. Fair play. But best wishes to Shane. Speedy recovery. Look forward to seeing him back on the field very soon, because let's be honest, boys, he has been the best out of the signings we have made so far. And I don't think that's even up for debate, quite frankly. But we will touch on recruitment a bit later on. Right, okay, let's talk about Friday night then. Dragons 14, Montpellier 18. So, despite the atrocious conditions, I did actually think it was going to be called off at one point. I looked outside the window, I thinking this game can't go ahead, but it did. And it was another missed opportunity for the men of Gwent. So that's now 7 consecutive defeats for the Dragons since that opening URC win against the Ospreys. God, that feels like a long time ago now, boys, doesn't it? That Ospreys win, it feels like a very long time ago. And now we are facing an uphill battle to qualify for the knockout stages. Gav, talk to me about Friday night then. Because let's be honest, we blew it again, didn't we? Another game gone begging.
Brainless. Just some of the decision making. Kind of. If we go right to the end, go for the line again. Go for the line out again. Why? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's difficult to, I understand you don't want to be flinging the ball in those conditions, but you also don't want to be defending them all in those conditions either. And just decision making.
Yeah.
I know I keep saying this, but you've got 2 kind of young halfbacks in awful conditions. And I think we kicked sensibly most of the time. But when it came down to key decisions, it just wasn't there. And we had a period where we were in the Montpellier half and 22 for 12 minutes and came away with nothing.
Yeah.
That's where you lose games, and that's where you win games. You win games by every time you go into the 22 taking points, even if it's just 3 points. At the minute, it feels like we couldn't kick the arse of a donkey if we were sat on it. So kicking points isn't that helpful. But if you've got 12 minutes of dominant position, you've got to score, and that's why that's why we're losing games. And I know there's some talk on social media that we were robbed. I don't think we were robbed. I understand why the decision made was not to allow the try towards the end, and I also. You can't rob yourself, because ultimately we were the ones who made the poor decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just a couple of things to touch on when you mentioned this. So first of all, that decision to tap and go instead of kicking to the corner when Montpellier were giving away penalties at the Mall, you are right. I can understand that.
No.
And it looked like they changed their mind, because at one point I did see, I'm sure I saw Angus pointing to the corner, and then words were said, and then it was Sam Scarf who did the tap and go. The problem was we were shunted back, weren't we? We were not breaking through their defence. Montpellier, to be fair, defended very well, and we were getting knocked back at a rate of knots. Secondly, I do agree with you, Gav. It's the decision making that's really let us down. The TMO decision at the end, I'm okay with that. I don't think it was foul play. You could see there was an
Oh,
attempt to wrap. Sam Scarf did go quite low as well. I don't have an issue with it. I know I've seen supporters saying we were
yeah.
robbed, and
It was the right decision.
I think even David Buttress said so about TMO be robbed. I'm sorry, I disagree. I think it was the right decision. But to me, that game was lost in the opening 20 minutes. We just didn't handle the conditions well at all. And to go 18-0 down, it's an uphill battle, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
but I am pleased. If we're going to be positive, which, you know, we have to pick the positives, I did think we showed a lot of character to come back from 18-0 down in really horrible conditions. So there's that. But Gareth, what's your take on the game?
Yeah, it was an enjoyable Friday night. It's a shame the weather warning didn't come in a bit sooner, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I definitely don't think we're robbed. I was there at the game, and at no point did I really think we were going to win. And I didn't feel like we were unlucky at the end. We just looked like we didn't have the ideas, and there's a massive lack of confidence in the side when you're watching it, which is understandable. You lose that many games in a row, it's sort of a compounding effect. But
yeah,
we should have gone to the more and another driving line out. And also, you're watching it, we're hitting a brick wall, and Rio is stood in just he's pretty much in front of the post with acres of. Why are we not giving him the chance? Why are we not backing players like Rio and getting them on the ball? But we don't seem to be able to work him into a game. I know the conditions were really bad on Friday, to be fair, but we haven't worked him in the game all season. And then it's frustrating then when he gets picked for Wales. People say, oh, he's out of form. You're like, how can you be in form playing on the wing for the Dragons when you don't get the ball?
It's true.
It's not
it's
really the bloke's fault.
We don't have a system there. You know, and then we throw ridiculous Hail Mary passes out wide to a player who stood still and imagine him he's going to do some kind of miracle.
Yeah.
You play wingers into rugby. You play them into games. You don't just fling them the ball from 20 yards and assume they're going to skin 5 blokes.
Yeah. And you said, like, decision making, but it's not a new problem, which is the worrying thing for me. And we've heard so often about, oh, we need to learn and all. Well, we're obviously not learning. So at that point, you do have to say, are we being coached right? Is it the players? It's frustrating to see the same problems year after year. And it is a compounding effect. You mentioned the last win being the Ospreys game. And my worry for the Dragons is what's the effect on the fans and the crowd? So after that Ospreys game, there's a few of us who've got season tickets, and one of my mates come along. He doesn't come often. He had such a good time. He literally bought a season ticket after that Ospreys game because he was like, "This is great! What a game!" He was like, "Is it like this every week?" I was like, "Of course it is. It's fantastic. Get a season ticket." So
it's your fault, Gareth, rather than.
He's like, "Oh, this is brilliant!" And we haven't won a game since. So is he going to renew next season? A couple of boys got dragged along on Friday, and again, the weather did play a part, but. Are they going to want to come back? It's not a great place to go and watch sport at the minute. The crowd is flat. You go 18 points down, and people are more interested in having a beer and having a chat. The atmosphere just feels flat, and I feel like we've lost that Rodney Parade factor. Well, we've lost the Rodney Parade factor a long time ago now.
Rugby's a simple game, though. It's really, really simple, but we're not doing the simple things.
No,
you know, You sent me a message, Jamie, that hit the nail on the head on Friday. Why are we trying to play jouet rugby in the middle of a bloody hurricane, essentially?
Yeah, that's right. So I've seen a lot of comments, and Gav, you're in the Facebook forums as I am, right? And you are, Gav, as well, in fairness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moaning.
I try to avoid it.
There was a lot of moaning about why we were kicking the ball. And I think, well, did you look outside the window? Like, it was a storm, mate. You can't play running rugby in those conditions. No. You have to kick. Now, of course, it becomes difficult because of the conditions and the wind. That does play a part. And it's all about the execution of the kick. And Gav, you know, we've had Sam Lana, a rugby analyst, coming on, explaining to listeners why it is the rugby players kick. We've had James Benjamin, a current player, explaining why people still don't seem to understand why we kick. But kicking is not the issue. It's the execution.
Yeah.
That's the real problem. And I thought our kicking game wasn't very good. Even though
No.
the conditions were wretched, I thought our kicking game just wasn't as good as Montpellier's. Their fullback had a fantastic game.
Oh, he
That's
did, yeah.
how you manage. I can't remember his name. That's how you manage the conditions. He outplayed Angus O'Brien off the park, I thought.
Gareth, you were at the game. Which way was the wind blowing?
We were against it first half. We had it
Yes.
second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had the
West
wind
to
in
north, I think.
they had the wind in the first half, scored 18 points.
Yeah.
We had the wind in the second half and scored nothing.
Yeah. But that shows what a poor team we are. Because
Yeah.
if you looked at the Dragons Twitter account or the X account at half time, you say, we're behind. But we've got the wind at our backs at the second half. Yeah, we did. And what did we score? Nothing. 0. That tells you how bad we are.
And that's because I
second half.
assumed that was the case. But our kicking in the second half was bloody woeful.
It's painful. And this whole, why do we kick it so much? I watch us sometimes, and especially with our lack of skills behind, for want of a better way of putting it, I feel like we should be kicking it more. And like you said, it is the execution that's important, but we play around in our own half, and you just think, we're not going to make a line break because we don't make line breaks. So we're just waiting to lose the ball. You think, let's just play the corners. And I do think our pack has actually shown a good bit of dog and fight. People like Shane Lewis-Hughes feel like we've been getting into teams. We should be trying to squeeze the life out of them at home in the corners, but we're trying to play rugby in our own half, and it's just not working because we haven't got a plan. We just want to do it without knowing how or why.
It frustrates me massively. And I spend my life around terrible rugby. I play a terrible level of rugby. I coach kids rugby. They're a decent side, but it's still kids rugby. It's still terrible rugby. And the thing that I nail home to my teammates in my club and to the kids I coach is, don't play rugby near your own line. There's no point. Yeah. Play all the rugby down the other end, down the other end. To the point where I've got coaching drills set up about what to do when we kick the ball for under 11s. And most kind of under 11s teams will be, don't kick the ball. I'm a firm believer, kick it. And know what you're doing, get it right, defend it properly.
Yeah. And we probably got away with that halftime score as well, 18-14. We're probably happy going in, thinking we have got to win the second half, but you wouldn't have thought we had to win the second half.
But if you managed it properly, you put the ball high, long, how's the defence come up? Pressure, just pressure. How many times did we kick like that in the second half? Not at all, I don't think.
No.
No, absolutely. Tia made some interesting comments after the game. He said the mood is quite somber and the realization of opportunities missed again. We weren't clinical enough. And there were some moments where we did not play as a team. We were actually selfish in some of the actions that we just have to learn faster. And then it says here, asked by the Argus to clarify what he meant by selfish, Tia said, could they have gone together? Were they connected? I've seen a few people pick up on Tia's comments. Gav, is he right? Were the players selfish in their actions?
Right. I think selfish is an interesting choice of word, isn't it? Because selfish implies not considering others. So I wouldn't say they were selfish. Replace selfish with stupid, which is probably more offensive. And
he can't say that, though, can he? He can't say that.
Well, no, he can't. But that's what he's implying, I think. He's implying they made poor decisions that didn't take into account other players. Were they? Because there's always an opportunity when you could have given it wide. That's the very nature of rugby. I don't think it was that. It was just the absolute lack of thinking at times. And even like that not the pick and go, the tap and go at the end, or towards the end. Honestly, I don't think tap and goes works in under 14s rugby. Why is it going to work against a bloody huge French pack?
And we haven't got the ball carriers to do it. We have not got the big men and the ball carriers to get over the line. Be honest now, and I'm just saying this to be wise after the event, right? Did either of you when you watched the game, thought that we were going to get over the line in the last few seconds. So I'm
No.
on the couch watching. I couldn't go to the game. I did not at any point, even though we're winning penalties, we kicked into the corner and we were bashing up in the 22. I did not think to myself at any point, we're going to win this. Did any of you think that either? No.
No.
A friend of mine who's a Stormers fan was watching it. He is South African. He's not a rugby hipster. And he sent me a message saying, "Oh, I think you're going to win this." And I just text back, "Ha ha ha, no."
No. I did not believe we were going to go over the line at any point.
And I don't think, I'm on the terrace, and the atmosphere on the terrace didn't feel like we were gunning for that win, even though we were on the line. There wasn't that air of, come on, let's get over the line. The players there's just no belief, is there? There's no belief in the fans, the players. It is tough times at the minute. And you mentioned there people going off piece, but if you watch, we've all watched the Autumn Internationals, watching some top class rugby. You can see when somebody's do something against the game plan and they've done something a bit silly. With us, it's hard to spot because I don't know what we're meant to be doing anyway.
Yeah. But
You're right.
But going back to
give it to Basham because he's awesome.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
But it's like it is like bloody kids rugby. Give it to the quickest, strongest guy.
Yeah.
And all the opposition can't tackle.
I mean,
Don't
Basham's
work
tried.
under 11s.
He made some yards, and I watched it back. I don't know why I watched it back. That was a mistake. I watched it back, and we do another phase, don't go anywhere, and he quickly gets up, pushes someone out the way to pick it up and score. And it's like, we can't use Basham every other phase.
No.
We will break him.
Yeah, it's going back to the kicking thing as well. Say, why are we kicking so much? Ireland and South Africa kick the ball more than the majority of other teams, and they're the best two teams in the world. So I think if we do it well, it works. And Ireland and South Africa are the two most system-based team in the world. They aren't fancy rugby.
No.
It's particularly the Ireland. Ireland run, like you can see, there's A, there's B, there's C. They'll throw a B, then a C, then an A, and it's the moves are very similar. They just run at absolute precision. Have a system, just please. Somebody just say, right, we're going to run this. Because I've watched every game this season now, and every game I've gone, I don't know what the attack's doing.
No.
And you guys are there. You were seeing it in the flesh. Does it look like there's any structure to it because it doesn't want to watch it on TV?
There's not.
But we've talked about it on the podcast.
I
there's
know.
no identity.
But it's worse than no identity, Jamie. I think there's no system.
No, there's not. And I think rugby at the moment, although rugby likes to beat itself up, is in a great place. Rugby's brilliant to watch. And you watch it at the top end, there's a lot of points being scored. South Africa, who are number one in the world, actually play some really good rugby. And I tell my mates who, you've got mates who are like on the fence of, we like a bit of football, like a bit of rugby. Oh, come along. Yeah. Rugby's in a great place. And then they're like, is it? After watching us, they're like, this isn't entertaining. And then you read like the stats, like our line breaks for the season are low, tries are low. It's a frustrating watch. When rugby is really good at the moment, it's just not good for us.
But if you compare it to teams that have high line breaks, it's not down to individual skill. Well, it is down to individual skill, but it's down to actually playing players at the right angles and timing the passes and everything else. Rugby isn't like it was 25, 30 years ago. Defences are so well organised now. To get a line break, you've really got to be doing something quite special.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair enough. After the game, I saw the post-match comments from Angus O'Brien and from Tane Basham. Both very similar. We'll take the learnings. We need to be more clinical. We're hearing this now every game from players and coaches. I'm getting bored of it. Getting really, really bored of hearing the same thing about being clinical. What's it going to take for these players to understand that if they don't take the opportunities in the 22, they're not going to win games? When is that message going to sink in?
We shouldn't have to, mate. They're professional rugby players. They grew up watching and playing the game exactly the same as we have. And yeah, fair enough, we're all sat on our sofas, whatever, making those comments. But we know this. it can't. It's no case of it sinking in. I just don't think they can at the minute.
Gareth, any thoughts on that?
I don't know where these players can improve, but are they being let down by an inexperienced coaching group in some areas? I think we know we lack depth, and the budget is the budget. But to me, we've still got some very talented players.
Yes.
And some players who are giving their all and are working so hard. And we're not losing games because we've made an error in a great play. We're not even attempting a backs move and a play. We are just slinging it along the line. I just think we've got no structure, and I just don't know why we're not even attempting it. I feel like we've got, you've got someone like an Iron Owen at 12, who, to be fair to him, is having a good season, relatively. Yeah. I think he is, which is hard to say for us. And he's a great player. Are we giving him any options when he's got the ball? We don't look like he might have one forward on his shoulder, but we've got a talented ball playing 12. We're just not playing anything through him. I really struggle to see what we're trying to do in the back line.
But we use an Iron Owen wrongly. If you compare him to Ben Thomas at Cardiff, similar skill set, similar kind of player. Ben Thomas isn't getting the ball on the gain line. Ben Thomas is getting the ball behind the gain line, so he can either assess whether there's gaps or play people off. And you see where Iron Owen's getting the ball? He's getting the ball on the gain line like he's Jamie Roberts, which he isn't.
I wonder if you swapped them, would an Iron Owen be in the Welsh squad and Ben Thomas just be getting clattered every week for us? Or would they actually make a difference? Because I feel sorry for some of our better players.
So do I. It's wrong-minded. I'm not going to make out I should be a professional rugby coach, because I clearly bloody shouldn't. But if I can recognise that we're playing our 12 in the wrong way, surely we can work that out. And to be fair to him, there's a couple of times. What game was it? Oh, it's a Cardiff game where he made yardage. Getting the ball on the gain line. And then he never should, but he's got remarkable bloody feet, which has got him up to trouble. But just play slightly deeper. Play him deeper. Let Wilson do all the gain line stuff, because he's a big lad.
Yeah, I agree. There's big question marks about our backs coach, and I've never been truly happy with the appointment, I got to be honest. But it is what it is for now. I just think we're a poor side. I think we're a poor side, lacking in confidence, lacking in leadership. We look, and you mentioned this, Gav, as well. We're rudderless. I think that was the word you used. Rudderless on the field, no plan, no identity, and I'm afraid to say rudderless off it as well.
It feels it.
Yeah, I know David Buttress has been on social media lately, and that's fine. He's saying that the process is underway for recruiting a coach, and they've got to sign better players, and we're going to invest more. We're going to do this and do that. But it's all jam tomorrow, isn't it? We've heard this before so many times. That's how I feel it is. Does it feel jam tomorrow as well to you, Gav, or is it just me?
It is. No, and when you sent me that in the text, I was like, yeah, is it exactly right? That's the perfect phrase. It's going to get better. Okay, when?
Yeah.
And go pay a couple of £100 for a season ticket whilst you wait.
Yeah. But so some of you may know, I also have done, currently on hiatus, to a horror pod, and I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Descent, Neil Marshall film. Brilliant, one of the best horror films of this century.
Film.
One of the best horror films of this century. Being a Dragons fan, I feel a bit like the main character in The Descent, because no matter what I do, I'm never reaching the light. And when I do see the light,
it was a dream.
Yes, a dream. And in reality, I'm years surrounded by flesh-eating creatures.
I was wondering when the analogy was going to come in. Your analogies are bonkers. It was the chip shop one last week. You told you chip shops. I thought, what the fuck's he talking about? But it makes sense. You're right. It makes sense. If you've seen the film The Descent, you'll know exactly what Gavin's talking about.
And if you haven't, go and watch it, because it's as good as horror cinema gets. But I watched it the other night and I was like, oh, this is like being a Dragons fan.
We shouldn't laugh. We really shouldn't laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So, look, let's just end this on positives, right? Tame Basham is back to his 2021 form. I think he's been brilliant this season. Last season, as we all know, he didn't have a great season. I thought he was really off the boil. He's with us for only a year. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens now when this deal runs out. Is he going to stay? We'll talk about that a bit later because someone's raised that point. So, and who you know, funny enough, Gareth has raised this point. You can answer that question. I think he's been terrific. The only reason he's not in the Wales squad is just because he's a victim of the back row riches the Wales have got at the moment. It's very hard to get past the likes of Jack Morgan, Tommy Raffel, isn't it? So, but I think Tane is in really, really good form. I thought Sam Scarf, the young hooker, did well when he came off the bench. Good learning for him in horrible conditions. Barney Langton Cryer, another young lock from Newport. You know, he looks all right, doesn't he? You know, he doesn't look out of place for pro rugby. And like I said, the character shown to come back from 18-0 down, it could have got very Dragonsy mind, as we know. That could have been a real pumping in the first half, but to be fair, we stuck at it. We did show a lot of spirit and effort, and that's one thing with this Dragons team. You can't fault the effort, can you? Yeah, the effort is there. It's just the quality, intelligence, and game management and the leadership is lacking. Yeah, but other than that, it's all fine.
I think you're spot on. I think one of the guys who stand next to on the terrace has said before, you need to turn big losses into little losses to then turn them into wins. They're not going to go from big losses to wins straight away. No. And that would have been a thumping before, 18-0 down. We would have just folded and it would have been unbearable. But we put ourselves in a position where we could have won the game. All right, we didn't get over the line. We've said enough about the frustrations of that. But we have been in the fight in games this season and we have shown improvement. And then you think, you know, has anything changed from actually getting rid of Dye? But actually, Dye did get us fighting for these games. We're picking up losing bonus points. He was also playing without Brown didn't play every game. Cummins, Funaki, Wayno missed the first block beyond Connor. Keddy missed a couple of games. You know, I think we are showing a lot of fight. I'm quite happy with our pack. I think Sam Hobbs is doing a good job.
Yeah, he is, in fairness. I think he is doing a good job. He's doing well with what he's got to work with.
You think, well, now they are little losses, so we just need to take that next step now, though, because it can't. We have to keep on improving. It's not enough.
But we're stone cold bottom.
Yeah, we're bottom of the league.
We're bottom of the league.
But that's where we deserve to be. The table doesn't lie, does it? You are as good as where your position is, and we are bottom of the league.
It's a meritocracy. But again, kind of.
We were meant to be ending it on a positive there, Gav.
I can't think of any more positive stuff. We tried to think of a positive to end it on. I can't think of it. But yeah, look, that was Friday, another blown opportunity. And it's so frustrating because we're creating chances, but we're just not finishing them. And you, like I said, you do have to wonder what's going to take for these group of players to understand and realize that and to execute. I don't know. I'm not a sports coach. I do not know. Only they know that. I still think a lot of our problems is mental. I think there's a psychological issue with these group of players, and that stems from losing every week. But is there any further thoughts on Friday night before we move on?
No.
Okay. Let's delve into the mailbox because I asked our listeners to submit some questions and comments over to us. If you thought that section was doom and gloom, just wait until you read some of our comments now. Oh gosh, some of them have, to be fair, a lot of them are very valid points. Now, a couple of semi-positive ones, but here we go, right? Let's delve into the mailbox now. Nick Williams gets in touch. He asks, who was responsible for the recruitment of new players for this season? Now, my understanding was that it was Di Flanagan who led the recruitment because we didn't have a head of recruitment at the time. Rob Burgess was our head of recruitment. He moved to Bath. So Di was on, leading the front on recruitment, but it was also done with the board because the board would have had to have signed those players off. Now, this is the interesting... Exactly. But this is the interesting thing. David Buttress was on X. And he said to somebody talked about the recruitment hasn't been good enough. And he replied, I've been disappointed with the summer's work, to be frank. We can and must do much better. We have new owners willing to put more money in. We have to get the structure right off the field and make the most of our investment. So he's basically saying, as someone who signed off on these signings, that the recruitment wasn't good enough. And I find that extraordinary, really, because he was part of it. What did you guys make of that mission from David saying that yeah, the recruitment wasn't good enough.
I think we've heard a lot of good stuff from David Buttress, and
Yeah,
I think I should caveat any moaning that we owe him a massive debt. I think he pretty much
oh, absolutely,
saved the
yeah,
Dragons, and I'm a massive fan of David Buttress. And there's
yeah,
no given right from any fan for the board to just pump in money.
no,
But we have heard a lot of positive words come out of the board, and there have been some good changes. I like the new S&C coach.
yeah.
There's been a bit of investment into the academies, but it's not enough. We've heard these things. Oh, we want to be successful. We're not going to accept losing. Well, we are losing every week.
Yeah.
It's 7 on the bounce. So, and the recruitment has been poor. I think, I think we all like Di Flanagan, but some of his recruitment, Corey Baldwin, there's Hollis, there's a few that have come in, never offered anything and left again. And when you've got a small job, you can't afford to make bad decisions on your recruitment. I appreciate we probably do have to take some risks. But yeah, it's a bit strange to hear that from Buttress. And you do think, well, if we are willing to invest, I know we've got the budget restraints from the WIE, the cap, but you're also allowed 2 marquee players. So are we going to invest for next season? And we expecting 2 marquee players? Are there 2 marquee players out there in World Rugby that would want to play for us?
Well, this is the issue, right? So I spoke about this with Gavin before we started recording. This is where what the fans need to understand you, right? It's all very well saying we need to recruit better players. Let's go after, Jared Evans. Let's go over this guy. You've got to understand that we are a very hard sell. Players are not going to want to come to a team that's losing every week. It's a turn off for a lot of top players. If you're going to attract a top player, you've got to, I think, offer them more money. You have got to really offer them a big financial incentive to come to a team that's losing every week. Because if you're a player and you get approached by 4 regions, right, 4 of the Welsh regions, I guarantee you they're not going to want to look at the Dragons. You're more likely to sign for Cardiff or Scarlets or Ospreys. We are what we are, and it's going to be very difficult to sign top quality players when you're losing every week. And there has to be that realization, understanding from the supporters on that as well. We're not an attractive club. We're not.
If someone offered you 100 grand to play for Dragons or 90k to play for Scarlets, you'd really consider that 10k job thinking, but I'm going to win games.
Exactly.
Because nobody goes into a game of sport thinking I'm fine with losing every week, because nobody is.
No, exactly. What did you make of the recruitment, Gav? Because I think at the time when we did this pod, we looked at these players and we thought, yeah, there's some good names in there. But let's be honest, apart from Shane Lewis-Hughes, and I'm gonna exclude Ollie Bowers because he's a young hooker.
Yeah.
He's one for the future, and I do actually rate him quite highly. I think he's going to be a really good player. We got some very good depth at hooker now. But Lloyd Evans, my thoughts on Lloyd Evans. I'm very unconvinced. Harry Wilson, I do believe there's a player there, but he's been underwhelming.
Yeah.
Cummins and Funaki looking like a waste of money. Injury prone again. How many times have we signed injury prone players? Cummins is a worry, mate, because he's picking up knocks. He's not even playing. That's a red flag to me. How can you be picking up knocks and not even playing? I just find that really odd. So what have you made of recruitment?
For me, Shane Lewis-Hughes, 8.5 out of 10, been solid, been stronger, one of the strongest players we've had this season. Apart from Tane, he's been my star man, really. And then you are really just into the long grass straight away, Ollie Burrows. I think there probably is a good player there, but he's been a bit unlucky because Brody Coughlin has just hit form at absolutely the right time there. Lloyd Evans, I'm not sure what he is, because he doesn't look like a 10. I was saying about Nyron Owen playing too much on the line. Lloyd Evans plays far too deep, and he can't link with anyone else. And then, Cummins, Funaki. I'm not convinced Funaki exists. It's because, has anyone seen him yet? Hopefully.
I have seen him in person. I know Gav has as well because we beat the place Q&A.
He is an absolute block of a man.
Yes.
It's a shame we can't get him on the field because he's a unit.
Yeah, but he's had this knee infection, see? And Philo Tiatira said, we're not going to rush him back. We're going to seek medical advice. And you're thinking, well, when are we going to bloody see him then? Because there was so much excitement and hype over
Yeah.
this guy. We signed him, crocked. We knew what he was getting. He just had a knee op when we signed him, but he picked up his infection.
Is that how we can pick up a player that another team, they don't need to take that risk?
Yeah, that's it.
And we're a little bit more desperate.
It probably is, but if you follow Sam Lana on social media, and it kind of, Sam's a friend of mine, I'll make no bones about that. So, like, I am kind of suggesting work with a friend of mine, but it's really good. Every summer, he does like a Moneyball 20 players who are out there.
Yeah.
You know, kind of guys who are available from French clubs, wherever. And he talks about all the stats, and he talks about all the kind of, strengths, weaknesses, where he feels they could play. Big piece of work he does every year. Neither of those players were on his list of players who would be your Moneyball signings.
No.
You know,
no.
And I did talk to Sam about Cummins, and he said, I don't know a lot about him, but I think he's injured a lot.
We got that right, didn't he?
Yeah.
Don't think you have to be an analyst to work that one out, to be honest.
But there's people out there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He's not been valued for money, have he? No.
So, and like one of the bits of work Sam has done, he found a contract for a guy called, I can't remember the guy's surname. His first name is Com. He's a French guy. And he went to Leicester and he played the season in Nottingham, and now he's getting into the Leicester first team. So there's players out there who are looking for clubs.
Maybe then the Dragons, if there's anyone from the club listening to this, maybe you should get in touch with Sam Lana and let him do a bit of work for you then. Help you with recruitment. Might be just an idea. He knows his stuff, doesn't he, Gav?
Yeah, or, and there are people who can do that. Work with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Cummins has probably come in. I know it's an extra season gone, but replacing Rowland, who we didn't replace the season after. And we lose experience at 10 in JJ Hanrahan and Sam Davis. And I think Lloyd Evans is probably a tidy player. He's just not the 10 that we need.
No.
He's not our type of, it's not, we need someone to really get a grip of that back line and control the game. And he's a bit loose. He's not that controlling 10.
No, you're right.
But I agree on Harry Wilson. I think he does look a good player.
There's a player in there, I think.
He's got a lot of skills.
He's a big man. He's a big man as well.
It's no easy feat coming in at 13 at the Dragons.
No.
You know, getting man and ball when it's been shoveled along because someone else do on it. It's a tough ask. He hits good lines.
Yeah.
He's having passes launched at his shoulders at the minute sometimes. Some of his knock-ons, you're like, yeah, take it. But
that's a timing thing because of lack of a system.
Yeah.
You know, it's not because he can't catch, because I saw someone that said, oh, why is Wilson in the team he can't catch? You try catching a missed time pass where your hands are already in front of where the ball is. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And 13 is difficult defensively as well. It's a really technical position defensively. So I do feel for him. But with the right coaching, he's a great player.
Yeah,
I definitely think there's a player in there. Let's go through some of these then. So Lee gets in touch and says, it's incredibly frustrating watching the same problems blight us every game. Yeah, I think we could all agree with that. I don't think we have strong, experienced leadership to guide our young players. Yeah, fair comment. The recruitment was underwhelming and confusing. Fair enough. Daniel Crandon says detail in attack was a problem, albeit conditions were rubbish. Yeah, we do have to factor that in, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
But the leadership, this is a frequent theme. See, it's not just us moaning about it on the pod. These are what other people are saying as well. And I think when you got people saying, oh, they're all the same stuffs, then maybe there is a problem there. Do you know what I mean? The leadership and decision making in the last few minutes was a problem. Tap and go after Montpellier, conceding a more penalty on the line. Should have gone back to the line out. You said that, Gav.
Yeah.
That's right. Ricky gets in touch and says, can't fault the effort. Lads gave everything. We just don't have the big ball carriers to get us on the front foot. But WTF are we doing with tap free kicks close to the line? All we did was just tap and run into a wall of defenders. We did, yeah. Sam Scarf, bless him, got shunted back so many yards. What is our attack coach doing? He says, no disguise, no imagination. Who wants to pick up on that?
Well, it makes no sense to me, that situation, because if you kick it off the field, you're sucking the defence up. Because you have to, a maul defence requires a maul. Yeah, all right, mate. I don't think you're going to run through large French guys. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think,
it just lacks a bit of shape.
yeah, I think on Matt, but and he's an inexperienced coach. He's not come in as a proven coach. He's still playing. He's not,
Yeah.
he's not got 15 years of coaching behind him. And it's a tough gig to come into, which makes you think you need an experienced coach. But I think sometimes it doesn't mean, if you need a change in coach, it doesn't always mean that the person is a bad coach.
No,
But a fresh idea, especially we look low on confidence.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can have the same messages from the coaches, it not work before you lose confidence. Not to go to that horrible round ball, but look at the difference in Wales football from a changing manager and a different sort of, I'm going to say the word narrative, which I'm sick of hearing after the autumn internationals. So apologies for using that. But the narrative that the football are using with Bellamy, and it's very positive. And we just always talk about learning. I'm like, is that what we're there to do? Learn? We're not there to learn. We're there to win. I
Yes.
feel like we need to change it. We need to start talking about why we're actually playing. We want to win. I think it starts with getting some more experienced coaches in. I don't know who that's going to be. I'm praying that we could get someone like a Rob Baxter from Exeter, or someone who's done it before, someone with a bit of experience, or a young innovative coach, a Nick Evans from Quins. But again, same as the recruitment on players, why would he come here? He's playing with some of the best backs in Europe at Quins. Do you want to come out and have a go with ours in sunny Gwent? Probably not.
If you want good players and you want good coaches, you got to put your hands in your pocket and bloody well pay for them, because you don't get them on peanuts. And that's something the owners need to, I'm sure they do realize that, but seriously, they need to invest. Like you said, they have invested in the pathways and the SRC side of it and all that. But if you want good guys, good coaches, they don't come cheap. You've got to get your checkbook.
It does need to be that step change, and it might be short-term pain in the pocket, and appreciate it's not my pocket, but if we don't invest in a higher caliber of coach, we're just always going to be in this position.
But it is your pocket, Gareth, and it's Jamie's pocket as well.
Yeah, that is
because
true. Yeah,
because you are partially funding it.
Yeah, I
try
not
entirely, but
I buy my little boy kit, and you try and drag a few people over, think they'll get some beers, think it all goes into the club, and you think, well, yeah, where's it going? What's it going on?
Yeah, fair enough. Right, this is an interesting question. I was thinking about this the other day, so I'm glad it's being asked. This is from Greg Carter, right? And he says this: do we need a full-time sports psychologist to help get these players over their mental block about how to win? Now, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Gareth, do we need a full-time sports psychologist?
Yes, 100%. I think Greg's spot on. I stand by Greg on the terrace. Passionate Dragons man, and he's banged on about this for quite a while, to be fair. And if you read any like ex-players' books, like how it helped people like Sam Warburton and other like top level pros, it just seems mad to not go after all those little 1%. And the best teams in the world should be doing it. But when we are where we are, and we may struggle with recruitment, like we've touched on, well, can we get another 1% somewhere else? Let's get in a sports psychologist. I think it's a must. I want to see that announcement now. I think it's really important. Can we do it before Cardiff?
So I'm older than both you guys, and I don't know. Like Steve McLaren, the former England manager, didn't do particularly well there, but he did superbly well at Middlesbrough. Got Middlesbrough to 2 UEFA Cup finals. Did a lot, and he put all of that. He said, we did lots of good work. We had good players, had good coaches. Steve Round was his coach, who was a great football coach. But he put lots of it down to a guy called Bill Bezic, who was a sports psychologist. And so basically Bill Bezic created a culture of winning in Middlesbrough and turned Middlesbrough into a side that got the European finals. Yeah, you can do it.
Do you remember what John Evans spoke to us about on the last pod? He said when he went to Bath, they had a sports psychologist. He was talking about the difference in the coaching setup between Dragons and Bath. they had a much wider coaching setup, and they had a sports psychologist there. So I think it's a good idea, especially like you said, Gav, for Cardiff, because that is a mental block. That really is a mental block, that they've had so many near misses against Cardiff that they just cannot get over the line. And it don't look like they're going to beat them Boxing Day either, does it? Let's be honest.
No, I can't even say I'm looking forward to it anymore. It used to
No.
be my favourite day of the year.
It's never been my favourite day.
But now it's just, it hasn't been for about 10 years. I think, if that's what an elite sports team looks like, then we should be an elite sports team. You shouldn't have your first coaching gig at one of the 4 regions in Wales. There should be stepping stones before you're doing that. And all that off-field stuff like sports psychologists should be in. If we want to be high-performing, it needs to be a high-performing culture.
But Dragons have never been a high-performance club.
No, they haven't.
Like, when we were talking to Paul Turner and he was talking about the conditions he was having to coach them in, and we were we were a good side at that point.
Yeah.
But the conditions those players were training in, and you can say, "Oh, rugby, hasn't been professional that long." Being professional in 1995, 30 years. Been professional sport for 30 years.
No, it's a fair point. Yeah. No, I agree.
They have sports psychologists.
Season ticket if they want to invest it. Like, if put the prices up, I'd pay more to watch us win, because at the moment it's almost purely a waste of money.
Yeah,
it's not pleasurable, is it? It's not pleasurable going to watch any team you like losing.
The problem is the hardcore, like yourself, Gav, and your mates. You're always going to be there, let's be honest. But I think the casual fans, they're not going to pay money to come and watch the Dragons.
No.
They're just not. You're not going to pay good money to see a team losing every week, especially on a cold winter's day, pissing down with rain. Dragons are not a good product on the field. The biggest concern is when hardcore guys like yourselves are starting to get fed up and they walk away, because that's really going to hurt the club. That is, because it's the hardcore now on the terraces that are keeping the club going right now, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like it is a breaking point, because I felt we were positive in the summer.
Yeah, there was positivity, but there always is. Before every season, there's always positivity. It's the hope that kills you, Gav. How many times have we said that on this podcast?
Well, I think with that, the lack of leadership.
Yes, but every year you can almost caveat, oh, it was COVID, oh, the takeover, oh, it was this. Yeah. But now, we're in charge of the club. It's our decisions. So I'm like, if we can't get it right now, then I haven't got an excuse. So that's what's worrying me. I need to see progression.
Well, I don't think there are excuses, Gareth. Jamie hit the nail on the head earlier. We just aren't very good.
We're on the same budget as the other 3 regions, so we haven't got that excuse. For years and years, excluding salary cap, we could say, well, we're the least funded region. We got the lowest budget. That was our sort of badge of honor. Yeah, we got the lowest, funding. We can't say that anymore. It's not correct. We're all operating off the same budget. I keep hearing we're a young team. We got a lot of youngsters. And Philo Tia in particular was pushing this youngsters narrative. There's that word again, Gav. Sorry, narrative. All the Welsh regions are playing youngsters right now. We're not mutually exclusive here. No. They all got young players. Let's stop this narrative.
Cardiff is full of kids. Team.
Exactly. So are Scarlets. They got guys like Eddie James and all these other youngsters. Ellis Mead. Stop pretending Dragons the only team that got these youngsters. We're not. So knock that on the head right now. So, yeah, the excuses are over now, and it's just look. We don't expect to be a playoff team. We don't expect to be winning the Challenge Cup, but we got to expect better than this, surely.
No, well, we are literally bottom, and that's behind a team that do have a lower budget than us, I believe.
Yeah, according to the guy I had on, Mike from Fratelli Rugby, he said the development side, I think he reckons they got budget around €3 million.
They're literally a development team, and they're beating us. So how are we saying we're picking youngsters? We've got internationals.
Yeah, I'm not buying that narrative. People say it to me all the time. I'm sorry. All the Welsh regions are playing youngsters. They've all got young squads. So enough of that.
Yeah, we've got no excuse. It's only on us.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on then. Josh Crosby gets in touch. He asks, is it time for another Jason Turvey revival? Hell yes, I say to that. I'd have Turvey back in a heartbeat, bless him. He's doing all right for LSD, apparently. He's playing in the centre now. Played a lot in the centre.
I think it's a bit of a step up from playing Welsh Prem to...
I know. I like Turvey. I did.
Turvey and Johnny Evans. That's who we want a half-back. Yeah, lovely.
I tell you what with Turvey, though. When he was hot, he was really, really good. But when he was cold, He was bloody awful. There was never an in-between with Tubby.
Tubby was one very Welsh outside half. Well, like you say, I always remember it was writing about Arwell Thomas, but it's equally thing about Tubby. Whenever he got the ball, you know there'd be a try. The problem was you were never quite sure for which team. And
yeah. I mean, he scored a hat-trick against Ulster when we beat them. Could you imagine a player doing that for us now?
No, I can't. I honestly can't.
I couldn't imagine us going 3 tries against Ulster. Never mind one player doing it.
Jason Tovey will always have a place in my heart for 2019 Judgment Day. That conversion when we finally beat the Scarlets. I was there and it was one of the best days of my life. I know that sounds really sad. I've been to a lot of rugby games, but the satisfaction of beating the Scarlets when all the talk was they were going to get their 5 points to qualify for the playoffs. Remember that? They just thought we were going to turn up and roll all over us. Didn't happen. Loved it. Loved seeing sulky Scarlet faces in the pubs of Cardiff afterwards. Loved that day. Nathan Davis got a question then. Do you think the team selection for Montpellier game was correct? Should we have gone fully loaded from the start in a hope to get some points on the board in the cup? Progression from the group is really our only hope of rescuing a really poor season. Now, before you answer that, there is a caveat to that. Don't forget, mind, there was a 6-day turnaround. And you've got to have some level of rotation. You can't be playing the same 15 when you're on a 6-day turnaround. So I understand why there were changes, but was there too many? Did we make the right changes? Should we have stuck with Rodri given those awful weather conditions? It was a big ask, mind, wasn't it? For a young halfback pairing to play in those conditions in a storm. Maybe we could have done with Dan Lydiate and Rodri and a few more leaders. So, Gav, what do you think? Do you think the team selection was right?
Well, sorry, Gav.
Gav, I was asking. Sorry, Gav. Gav.
Sorry.
To be honest, I think it was right. Hindsight's 2020, but maybe the halfbacks you had a bit more experience, and I don't think Kai Evans has been another great signing. But you could have gone Angus and Kai, two boots at 10 and 15. Angus at 10. I don't like Kai at 10. But besides that, I think players have to play. We can't just pick the same team week in, week out. We're suffering with injuries as it is, and there's bigger mountains to come. A lot of people are saying like the season's over. To me, I feel like we should be building, here we go, a narrative around not finishing bottom.
It's that word again. Yeah.
Why are we not fighting to be in bottom? Why is it not actually publicised that we're last and we don't want to finish bottom and make a bit of a big deal out of it rather than just letting the season drift away? We should actually be targeting wins with the thought of climbing that table. And so you can't just pick players and just run them into the ground. Are you a bit more rotation now away at Newcastle, especially as we're done in the cup? Those that need game time, and get ready for the big Boxing Day derby, which will probably be a grim affair as well.
Oh, great. Can't wait for that. Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. Gavin, any thoughts before we move on that?
I said to you last week we should have put our strongest side out. I stand by that.
Even on a 6-day turnaround?
Yeah. The strongest team that was available. Because I don't think we did that. There will be players who weren't fit enough, that's fine. But we didn't pick our strongest team. And that was a game that was there for the taking.
Okay, fair enough. Graham gets in touch and says this team is in desperate need of a new, positive, inspiring coach that knows how to get us over the line and win games. Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast. There is TT is giving off vibes of I really don't want to be here doing this, isn't he? And I don't think that's helping things. Also, a coach that can attract players to the club in the right positions. Again, I think that comes down to money, but yeah, I think a lot of people are picking up on Tia's vibes. And I don't blame the guy, because that's not what he came here for. He came here to help his mate out. He was promised, he got a gig on defence, an exciting new project. All of a sudden, he's chucked into the hot seat. That's not what he came here for. That's not what we wanted. Mark Jones says, I genuinely believe we have some top-notch players and good young players, but the basic errors and game management decisions really are schoolboy level. Yeah, fair enough. Nick Foyle says, can't fault the effort or the players, but there are a number of players that will never be up to standard. We need to clear out. Harsh, but that's the reality we are in. Happy with the young players coming through. Is that a bit harsh, though, do you think, to say we need to clear out some players just aren't up to standard?
There are players
you agree with that?
Enough. There are players who aren't good enough, yeah. That's not a Dragons thing. That's every club, every sports team in the world have players who probably aren't good enough for the level they're at. We probably have a few too many.
Okay, we say we need to clear out every year.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? We do. We absolutely
the question
do.
is, who are we bringing in? And
but we did clear out players who needed to go last season. You know, I think we got the players who weren't good enough have gone.
Yeah, and I think it's with this group of players. Okay, a few could, we might want to upgrade a few and get a better depth, but it's the coaching again, isn't it? If we had a more experienced coach, are we getting enough out of these players? No. And we had an under-resourced coaching staff, which was, again, an excuse for last season, because we loved an excuse. We finally bolstered our coaching staff this season, and now letting Di go, it's under-resourced again. I just think we're a professional outfit. There's only 4 teams in Wales, and we've not even got a full coaching staff. It's hard to put it all on the players when are they being given the opportunity and the tools to be successful before they go out on the field.
Good coaches make players better.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
That's why you have coaches. Otherwise, you won't bother having coaches, would you?
No, okay. Alec gets in touch and says, I generally feel if we had an experienced 10, we would see a massive improvement. Even someone like Tina Stabia from Cardiff, someone that was tried and tested at 10, but of course we still need props. Did any of you read our article in Wales Online a few weeks ago where apparently we've been linked to what feels like half the Cardiff team and like these ex-Cardiff players are in Harlequin. So we've been linked to Dylan Lewis, we've been linked to Jared Evans. That's not a secret, by the way. I know for a fact the Drags have been chasing Jared Evans for a long time. But Tina Stabia was one of these players. Apparently we were tracking Ben Thomas as well. Like that's going to happen. Gav, you would have loved that, wouldn't you? If we'd signed Ben Thomas, Gavin B, he loves Ben Thomas. That's not going to happen. How would you feel about Tina Stabia then? Just see if he was an option. Would you take him?
He's an upgrade on anything we've got.
I would take him. Gareth, would you take Tina Stabia from Cardiff?
I would take him, but the only thing I would say is he did play well he was really good for Cardiff last season, but he didn't get them over the line. They weren't winning games last season.
They won the same amount of games as Dragons. So competitions.
He's not going to bring that winning culture that we need at 10. But will we get a better option? I'm not sure. I think he probably would be an upgrade, but it's not going to sell season tickets, is it?
No, it's not a marquee signing by any means, is it? Let's be honest.
But in Lloyd Evans' defence, he's not playing in the system. 10 is a system player. Like, you're an NFL fan, aren't you, Jamie?
Yeah.
And quarterbacks are system players. So you have the quarterbacks who let your running players get into the game. You have the ones who are the passers, pick up the wide receivers. You have you've got a system player, and you pick a player that fits into your system. As we don't have a system, what's Lloyd Evans doing? I reckon if Lloyd Evans has got the right players around him, he would be better, or the right system for him, he would be better. Because it's not like he's not played 10 before. He's played 10.
But he was good at Gloucester. But he was
absolutely.
But to be fair, mind as well, the other caveat to that is he was playing a lot of 15 the past couple of seasons at Gloucester. But at Gloucester, he was a tidy player. And I said to you, well, I think that's a really good pickup because he's experienced,
But they play to a system.
They've got coaching again, then, isn't it? It's almost thinking it doesn't matter who we sign. If we don't get the coaching set up right off field, it's just going to be the same old problems. We've got these great promising youngsters coming in the back line, Harry Wilson being one, but someone like Westwood, and I'm gutted the Newport game was off because of Ackerman coming back, and I think he's a real talent. But if you're coming into our team, are you really going to showcase your talents? I'm not sure. I think we need to get our coaching ticket right for next season.
Yeah, it's just about making the decisions and utilising players in the right place. Yeah, and if you play Lloyd Evans plays deep, well, play everyone else deeper. Stop trying to get players on the gain line then. Just play a slightly deeper game, 2 running kind of lines.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right, Gav. I agree. It is. It's frustrating, isn't it, when you think about it? It really is. Gav, this is a question for you now. Your brother's got in touch. He says, he makes a fair point, actually. So, with no permanent head coach, an assistant who doesn't seem to want the job, and a losing streak that doesn't look like stopping anytime soon, the question is, at a time of retention and recruitment, what's the incentive for players like Basham to stay? Well, why do you think he would stay with us? What is the incentive?
Hello, bro. Probably ruining his Monday that he's listening to me because he doesn't know I'm on. I didn't tell him, so.
There you go.
I'll listen to him all day now. I think it's a massive concern. I think it's a
Yeah.
fair point. I think there's a reason why Basham signed a 1-year deal. We would definitely, surely, we want to keep him. For me, he's a fantastic player, homegrown, this type of player we want at the club.
But why do you think he would stay though? With results being bad, Lucy, what do you think he would?
I honestly can't see why he would stay when he is putting in great performances. The team aren't getting over that. He must be frustrated by it. And if he wants to go on and be a world-class player that he could be, does he need to be in a better environment? Has he got questions over the coaches? I don't know. But it's almost got to the point where I would like to see him spread his wings. And I'd love to be watching the top tier of European rugby this weekend and be watching Basham tear it up in some really big games in front of big crowds and be getting all the plaudits. I'm not quite there. I do want him to stay, but
I prefer if he stayed and actually won games with us. That's what I prefer.
Well, yeah,
but I get your point. I get your point.
Players deserve it.
They
how
do.
good Aaron Wainwright was last season. I think he deserved more wins than he had.
Listen, if Aaron Wainwright leaves tomorrow, he goes to my best and fair play, mate, because you have put up with a lot since you've been here. Like, yes, we gave him this opportunity. He's a Gwent boy, but if anyone deserves success, it's Aaron Wainwright, let's be honest.
Where's Tane from? He's from Pontypool, is he?
Tallywayne, isn't it?
Tallywayne, yeah. I don't know if he still lives up that way, or it's difficult to get anywhere else from there. The State Dragons, everywhere else is far too long a commute, mate.
He does mention the fact he's a proud Gwent boy. He said that on a number of occasions on Friday. So maybe it's the pull of being from the area that keeps you there.
100 times. There's no question his commitment. He gives everything when he's on the field. He's a class player. I'm a massive Team Basham fan. I really like him.
I am.
When we talk about Wales lacking size and power, to me,
carriers.
It's not about size. It is power, and he is powerful. I dub him the Welsh surveyor because he's.
He gets his critics from like fans of the other Welsh regions, but I think they'd love a player like Basham in their team.
He can be defensively quite naive.
He can make some dumb decisions at times. Remember the elbow in the back of the head? Ross Byrne, wasn't it?
Just positioning as well. Defensively, he can find himself kind of caught in no man's land a bit.
I feel like he knows he's top class and has to try and do so much for us. He tries to force it at times when there is no need to force it. He hasn't done that this season. He's looked pretty solid, but I think that's part of frustration as well, trying to make an impact in the team that's losing and he's desperate to win.
Yeah.
And absolutely. How long can you do that for?
Yeah, that's fair enough. We've still got loads to get through. We'll rattle these through. So Chris James says, can we find out if it's okay for Matt O'Brien, who may be a great coach, to be part-time? Also, if Philo is not head coach, who's replaced him as defence coach? We did the exact same thing when Dean Ryan left. Forward Dye became DOR and head coach and part-time attack coach. Our structure doesn't scream elite. Why are we making those same structural mistakes? That's something you picked up on, Gareth. To be fair to Matt O'Brien, mind, I think he is full-time now, and he has played a lot less for Newport. So it's not the same situation it was last season. I think he is full-time, but that's something I've never particularly liked. Me and Gavin have discussed on the pod. I've never liked the idea of Matt still playing for Newport RFC. They should be developing the youngster there now, because that would benefit them and benefit us. But it's the same structural mistakes. The coaching, it goes back to what you were saying, Gav, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think a lot of the games he's playing after we've played on the next day, which is probably a day off for us. But as an elite coach, and if we use the word elite loosely with the Dragons, but an elite coach, you should be on your laptop that day probably, analysing the game before the next
it is
meeting.
elite level sport. No, it's the top level of rugby in Europe, club league in Europe.
Yeah.
Better than the Premiership.
Do you think Leinster's backs coach is just having a run out for the local side on the day after the game? Or
it's a fair point. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't scream elite.
But we are up against teams who are elite, who are properly elite, who are operating at like absolute Borg levels of efficiency.
I don't think that's just Matt O'Brien though. That's the whole culture. Because the head coach should say, no. If you want to be backs coach, that's your full-time job, and that's what you're doing. It's the whole culture is just not. It's not an elite.
And I can't imagine playing for Newport is making the difference about his mortgage, is it? Like, it's
no. I wouldn't have thought.
No, fair enough. Calvi says the boys and coaches all seem defeated. There seems to be no fight left in them. I slightly disagree there. I think we have seen fight. We saw fight against Cardiff, when they were, what was it, 31-9 down, and they did fight back really well. And they could have actually won that game if they'd taken a couple of more chances. And we saw it against Montpellier. You can't knock the effort, can you, when fighting these group of players?
Yeah.
But I keep repeating myself, it's just the lack of quality in game management. I think that's the
Yeah.
issue here. It's not the
It-
lack of fight. They're not
it's
rolling
not,
over.
no, it's not lack of effort. It's a
No.
lack of nous.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would challenge anyone to say it's a lack of effort. You can see, especially you watch it live, they're giving everything and they're coming off battered and bruised, and they must feel more frustrated than us.
Yeah, it's not very often I've questioned the Dragons for lack of effort. There has been the odd games, mind, when we lost 64-3
Couple of
up at
times last
Munster.
season.
That was
Yeah.
the Cardiff game. I called it out. That was a lack of effort. And I
Yeah.
told Dave Flanagan that to his face as well. I said that wasn't good enough. I said players didn't want to be there.
Oh, yeah, and he accepted it.
He did. But also, I spoke to a guy about this. He went down with his son and he said, I knew we were going to lose that game and get heavily, battered. I said, why do you say that? I said, the boys looked defeated in the warm-up. He said they looked defeated in the warm-up. That stuck with me. So, yeah, that day I did call it a lack of effort, which I think I'm perfectly entitled to do. I don't like doing that because they don't go on the field to lose. And
No.
we've had guests on this pod saying that to us quite a lot, and we get that. But you can't include this group of a lack of effort. I won't accept that. I just think it's a lack of intelligence and leadership, personally.
Yeah.
Richard Dixon asks, do you think Will Reid and Morgan Lloyd should be given a run of games together in the Challenge Cup?
In the Challenge Cup, yes.
See, my thinking is no, unless we're out of it. So I think we should go strong now, whilst we still got a chance of qualifying. If we lose to Newcastle, that's probably going to be done, isn't it? If it's dead rubber now, so like if Poe is a dead rubber, if Lions away is a dead rubber, yes, I absolutely would play them together. But I wouldn't do it right now. Not while we still got a chance.
That Newcastle game has to be the best team we can put out.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Absolutely. Rob D gets in touch. He says, unfortunately, it's the same things keep happening for the last 4, 5, 6 seasons. Just not good enough, he says. Gareth Dyer says, serious questions need to be asked about the detail of Dragons' attack within 5 metres of the opposition line. It's a recurring theme of missed opportunities, lack of cohesion and rushing the position rather than getting organised. It's criminal that they can't turn these positions into points. And then Richard Jones says, on a positive note, we have been competitive in most games and in a position to win, which is fair. We have. Negatives is that we still can't take our scoring opportunities and turn pressure into points. Matthew Williams says, for me, this has been the most frustrating season for a while. Really? Every season's frustrating. I get his point.
I agree, though.
I do. I'm only joking. I get his point. We should have won at least 4 games so far this season. Yeah, I think that's fair. There is a part of me, though, that has a feeling that it will click at some point during the season. And then he says, the players have to learn at some point, right? Well, you'd hope so, Matthew. You hope they'll learn.
It's that meme with Natalie Portman in there, isn't it? But you are learning from this, right? Right? And then just cut the Hayden Christensen just smirking.
And then finally from Darren, it's a semi-positive one. Let's end on a semi-positive. He says, I think we are not too far off being a reasonably decent team who wins more at home than loses. I mean, we'd settle for that, wouldn't we? It's not exactly a high ambition, but we would settle for that right now.
I do agree. I don't actually think we're miles off. We have turned big losses into small losses. We're getting closer, but we've just not got that confidence to get us over the line. And
are we a poor side?
Yeah.
We are a poor side.
We are a poor side.
Yeah. And,
we could be better with a bit more confidence.
We're aspiring to being mediocre. That's not great, is it?
No, it's not. Right, that's the mailbox done. Thank you to everyone who submitted. There wasn't many positives there, but that's the feeling of supporters. We've given our views, and those are the feelings of the fans. So,
and they're entitled to think it, aren't they?
Absolutely. Like I said, thank you to everyone who got in touch. Right, let's look ahead because there's no rugby roundup. Obviously, we can skip through that. It's been a long pod, this, isn't it? I just realised how long it's been. Right, our next game, Newcastle away, next Sunday, 3:15. This is shit or bust now for me because if we don't win this, I don't think we're getting out of this pool.
Nope.
No chance.
So we really this is a must win. Yeah, we agree it's a must win. So
100%.
this game is being streamed on EPCR TV, right? So it's not on any TV channels. It's the same as last year. So if you want to watch this game, you have to create an account, log on to EPCR TV, and you have to pay €7.99, which works out at roughly £6.63, something like that. because I've seen a lot of confusion about it's really poor scheduling actually. I just don't know why they can't show these games for free on streaming and not have the commentary. Do you remember when they used to do that? They used to have all the games to stream. You wouldn't have commentary on some of them. You'd be like, I don't care about that. At least I can watch the game. But if we want to watch it, you're gonna have to stump up £6.63. Newcastle, they played Po away on Sunday afternoon today. They lost 32-19. They scored a bonus point try right in the dying minutes, which took a bit cruel, really. They took a point away from Newcastle and they got a bonus point. Newcastle, it wasn't a full strength team they put out, but to be fair, they did have the likes of Ben Stevenson, Adam Wadran, Callum Chick, Freddie Lockwood, and Tom Gordon. There are some talented individuals there. I don't know if you've been following the English Premiership, Gareth, but they are improving. You know, they beat Saracens a couple of weeks ago. Steve Diamond appears to be turning them around. They're quite similar to us in that they find winning very difficult and they lose a lot of games, but they're on the up. They're turning the corner and we're not. This is by no means a given. So this is going to be a very difficult game, especially away up there. What are your thoughts heading into this one?
I think it's our own worst enemy again. So for Newcastle, like they are like us and they are struggling, albeit they do seem to potentially be turning a corner. But if they're looking at their fixture list, we are now a game to target.
Yeah.
Which is almost a bit of the struggle being the Dragons, that every team targets us now for the 5-point bonus, or when we go away to Zebra, we're picking up wins, they're going to target us. That'll be a fixture.
That's their cup final.
Yeah,
when we play Zebra, that's their cup final, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really worrying. So I think they are going to, I imagine they will go fully loaded and really target us. I think we should probably go fully loaded as well. We should be going with a strong team. We're not out of the cup, so let's go there and try and win, and also build a bit of continuity going into the festive derbies, because we've got to build the combinations. You know, people like Lloyd Evans at 10. It is still his first season, so we need him to play. If he's going to play Boxing Day, he needs to play next weekend.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Gavin, how do you approach this game? Do you agree? Do we go fully loaded now? Do we try and get this win, keep us in the competition, or do you think we should just keep giving opportunities to certain individuals? How do we go about it?
Well, I totally agree. We have to try and win this game. I've got no issue with giving Will Reid and Morgan Lloyd a go, but not yet. Let's wait till it's done. Yeah. And then if we lose this game, yeah, fine, I've got an issue. But win this game, win against Po, you stand a chance of qualifying. But we have to win this game.
I think if we lose this, I think we're as good as out. We may not be mathematically out, but it's shit or bust, isn't it? We've got to win this. We've got to win it.
Yeah, totally agree.
The question is, do any of you feel confident we can go away to Newcastle and get a result? Bear in mind, our away form is absolutely honking. We didn't win a single away game last season. How confident are you, Gareth, that we can go up there and get a result? Honestly, out of 10. What would you give it out of 10? How confident are you?
Like a 1.
1 out of 10.
And I hate that because I've always tried to be really positive about the Dragons.
You're very positive. I see you on the forums, you're quite positive. Yeah?
And I'm probably going to waste £6 on Sunday.
Oh, right.
Sat there watching it on a laptop, reluctantly beating my 3-year-old away.
Gareth, I'm saying to you what I said to Jamie this time last year. Don't.
Yeah, I paid to watch Zebra Dragons last season in this competition. I might as well just take the money out of my wallet and burn it. I might as well just set fire to it. However, I can see myself paying to watch this game only because of the importance. I know, but
it'll make no difference. It'll make no difference. That's £6, Gareth. You could buy your 3-year-old a hot chocolate and a biscuit, and they'd have far more fun than watching you screaming at the laptop.
But at some point in the week, there'll be that small little voice in me go, do you know what? That we could win. Or I'll see the team and be like, oh yeah, but I want to watch these players. These are my players. But
that happens every week. You look at the team sheet, and my dad says this. He said, "Oh, when you look at the team, you see us on paper, you think it's a really good team," and then they take to the field.
Yeah,
and that's when it starts to go wrong.
I love
Games
our
are never
players.
played on paper. I see.
Exactly.
As,
You're
as
right.
the joke goes,
But it's
yeah.
true. So many people say, "Oh, it looks a good team. It's a good side." It's like, yeah, wait till they actually
Yeah.
step onto grass.
And I,
See how they get on.
I pay money to watch it. I've Premier Sports. I've got all the things to watch it. But this, like, no. And at one point, I was thinking I might go up to Newcastle. I've got lots of friends who live up that way.
Yeah, you said you was going to go to this one.
Well, I wanted to. It just
Right.
it didn't. It didn't. It was just a work thing. I thought I was going to be up in the north of England for a work thing, and it turned out I wasn't. So.
Okay.
Yeah, my work let me down by having the training in London instead of being in York like I thought it was.
Right. Okay. So, same question to you then. Out of 10, how confident are you the Dragons go up there and get a win in Newcastle?
3 out of 10.
I'm going to say 2. I am.
So
I think
that's an average of 2.
Yeah, I think we'll. I do think we'll name a strong team for this one.
Yeah.
But we are very bad away from home. Now, look, the obvious joke is, oh, you don't win much at home, but at least at home we're competitive. Away from home have been our worst performances, I would say, especially last season. But
and there'll be no Shane Lewis-Hughes.
I know. Yeah.
Injuries are crippling us. It's not an excuse. There's definitely no excuse. But
no, you're right.
We are missing a lot of good players. You know, we haven't even seen Elliot D. Is Brown going to be back?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Brown. Again, he's picking up knocks. He's not playing. Our hip pulled out with sickness as well on Friday.
Yeah.
To be replaced with Chris Coleman. Are we going to see Steve Cummins? This guy just keeps picking up knocks. The guy's not even playing. Yeah, he's picking up knocks. Like I said, I just find that's a red flag to me.
Is he just going to ref pubs in Newport?
Yeah.
Is the whole
got the boss keys and picked up a knock? Yeah.
I was going to say the home blower closed decades ago. Like,
McCann's is a good establishment now. It's McCann's. It's a good establishment. Yeah. Other sports bars are favourable, like the Riverside, of course. That's a proper pub. Yeah. So we need to go strong, don't we? And hopefully we see. I tell you, what we really do need back. And I thought this on Friday night. We could really do with Harry Keddy back. Can you remember us turning over the ball at the breakdown? I cannot remember us turning over any ball at the breakdown.
No.
And we need him back for his lead because he is a good leader, Harry Keddy. I thought he was a good captain, and we need that grunt and that. We need that fetcher at the breakdown, which is what Keddy is. And when you play like Woodman, Basham, and Wainwright, you haven't got a fetcher at the breakdown. No breakdown threat.
If and not to skip and go straight to the Cardiff game, and it is a depressing game, but if we're going to win a game like that, we'll need Keddy back. We'll need Brown. We'll need Cummins if he does exist. I did actually see him carrying on water. Probably hurt himself doing that, to be fair.
I think he's a decent player. You know, I speak to my Scarlets mates. They liked him when he was at the Scarlets, and I think he could be a really important member of the squad. But he's just, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's a big physical lump, and I
was quite
excited about him. But
yeah, fingers crossed. So we're not hopeful or confident at all of Dragons getting this win. Oh, this has been a happy pod, hasn't it? Happy, happy, happy.
Well, I did compare it to a film in which everybody dies.
Yes.
So
and eaten by flesh-eating creatures. Yeah. Being a Dragons fan is the lead character from The Descent. Another brilliant Gavin analogy there. You're not wrong, mind. Right, final question, because it's been a long pod. Gareth, Christmas is around the corner. I want to know, what's your favourite Christmas movie, please?
Oh, that is a tough one.
It's the hardest question of the night, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And there's a much more positive subject. Do you know what I really like? Is it Klaus? It's an animated one.
Now, a few people have told me about that. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it, Gav? Klaus?
No.
The animated
I hate Christmas films.
Oh, fuck it. I'll try to another positive, yeah?
No, but I've got a Christmas film. I've got a definitive answer, and all others are wrong. But
yeah, I picked Christmas Car, which is fair enough.
Klaus is a top film.
Brilliant. Yes, let that end on a positive then. Go and watch Klaus. I am going to have to watch it because a few people said it's good. Right then, boys. That was a long one, wasn't it? Gavin, thank you for joining us. So it's Gareth. Thank you for joining us. It's been great to have you on. You're welcome back anytime. It's like I said, nice to have a fresh face and fresh voice. Misery loves company, as they say.
Just adding more misery piling on.
Misery loves company. That's what they say. Brilliant. Thank you to our sponsors, Riverside Sports Bar, as well. So we'll be back very soon. But until then, It's ta-ra for now. Ta-ra.